we can get started. Since we don't have a secretary, can somebody take notes for the first 5 minutes of the, until we elect a secretary? Don't all rush.
So I sit here with a piece of paper, or is that a hint?
You brought the notebook, I'm just
That's
saying.
a mistake.
Do you have a pen? Yeah. Hey, don't start with me. So, call the meeting to order, 6:05 p.m. I will get the meeting underway until we elect the chairman. Our first order of business will be to elect the chairman. So I will open the floor for nominations for the position of chairman.
I'll nominate you, Nate.
I will second it.
Any other nominations?
You did such a great job last year.
Everybody keeps telling me that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One abstention.
No, I voted.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you can't. Are you abstaining?
Okay, fine.
All right.
Unanimous,
All right.
5-0. Okay. We need a position of secretary.
Nominate Marilyn.
I despise. Dad,
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
you'll get yours.
You missed this. You know you
I
did.
really missed it.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. One abstention. Excellent. We have a full slate of officers. So
I'll vote. So it won't look so bad. It won't look bad on paper.
we have several reserve fund transfers to discuss this evening, but first Liz would like to bring us up to speed a little bit on where we stand with the fire department and such. So
Yes, so just a quick update for you. I don't want any surprises as we get further into the fiscal year. Where things currently stand now, the selectmen recently voted to have the department continue to remain a standalone department. So we will not be doing any sort of shared services with any other communities. As such, we have commenced the search for a new fire chief. The salary range that we were looking at was in the $90,000 to $100,000 range, capped at 100. That seemed to be, after getting sort of a general consensus of some other chiefs in the area, what we would need in order to bring in somebody who was competent and qualified and able to continue to build on all the good work that Chief Benjamino's been helping us out with as far as restructuring some things and coming up with new policies and procedures and that sort of thing. The search itself, we would have it done by Plymouth County Chiefs Association. I expect that to be no significant cost as far as them coordinating the search process for us. But that takes some of the politics out of it, and it ensures us that the candidate has been properly vetted, and we could work with them as time goes on and develop criteria that we want to use. We can kind of tailor the process to our own needs as far as our town goes. So we just started putting the advertisement together for that today and started getting that out. Chief Benjamino's will advertise it with some of the chiefs networks that he belongs to, and I was going to put it on MMA and on our website and really try to get the word out on that. As far as the department in general, there are no plans right now to increase staffing levels. We have 2 full-timers. They're full-time firefighter paramedics, and we don't expect that to be changing. So budget-wise, we had, I think, $80,000 budgeted for that chief's role. So obviously, that's a little bit different if we bring somebody in at 90 or 95. And
by the time they start, it might actually work out.
Exactly. So that's what we're betting on. We were thinking that if we had applications come back roughly around the middle of August, and then take that last 2 weeks of August to work with Plymouth County Chiefs, come up with the criteria that they'll use for vetting the applications and interviews, and then they could commence that process in September. And then hopefully they'll forward, 2 or 3 names to the town.
So they'll pre-screen the applicants and
They'll
send them on to the
pre-screen,
selectmen and
yes,
yourself? Okay.
Yes, that way we have, the top people to look at. So that part should be relatively smooth. The other thing that I wanted to run by this committee is the building and the state of the fire station itself. The MRI report that was conducted identified some significant deficiencies in the building. The biggest one of which is the exhaust system, or lack thereof, and that's really like a public health and safety issue. And it's a little unfair to think that they can continue in that capacity with those conditions as far as the exhaust system. We have been looking at grant funding opportunities, but the stopping block for that is because right now nobody's residing in the fire station. So that trailer that we have out front is kind of putting up a little roadblock for us as far as getting any kind of federal funding for the exhaust system. The good news, though, is that Chief Benjamino has been working with various contractors to price out everything that needs to happen there. And we had a meeting with the state building inspector, our local building inspector, and Chief Benjamino. They went all through the building, and the state inspector agreed that it has to be brought up to 1974 code, which is when it was built. They put together a plan to come up with how much it would cost. Now this is for materials, so labor would add a little bit to it. Although we did get an offer from the prison system to have their workers come out. They'll kind of look at our wish list and check off like things that they could do. So that would save us on the labor. For the materials and supplies to get that building up to the code it needs to be at, including the exhaust system, is roughly $61,000. That said, as part of that estimate, like I said, it doesn't include the labor, but we think we can kind of piece together on stuff. Coincidentally, sort of going on at the same time for this, we've identified one of our engines, engine 3, which is a pumper truck, as being a surplus item. The selectmen have it on their agenda tonight to declare it as surplus. And we received a preliminary estimate from an appraiser, and they thought that as is, we could probably get $60,000 for it. But that was when it needed a repair. We've since sent it out for repair. It was a minimal cost to get it repaired. I want to say it was in the $1,200 range.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's fully functioning. So we have to go through the municipal bid process for that. But we anticipate, even though the money will come in for that, and as you know, that'll come in, and you can't just immediately say, oh, well, that covers the station repairs. Our goal is that we're hopeful that that can kind of offset, so that we could go to town meeting and kind of point to that and be like, okay, we have a plan for getting these repairs done at no real significant extra cost to the taxpayers. So
There's no concern at all with declaring it as surplus?
No.
You have to understand, Engine 3, when it was purchased as a rescue.
Right.
Not purchased as an engine. And immediately, the then Deputy Chief, Donald Buckerno, tried to make it a breast breaker.
Right.
And then that didn't function, so they started calling it an engine.
Okay.
Right.
It only carries 2 people.
The analysis that came from next door on it was that it's sort of a jack of all trades, but a master of none.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we think that that's a wise move. Also for space purposes over there, one of the things that MRI identified was that we just have so much equipment and none of it's really being used to its fullest potential, or maybe not necessarily being used for its intended purpose, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we're trying to kind of streamline things so that we have equipment that's effective and that's being utilized. One of the other things is that Chief Benjamino's been working with the staff over there to establish maintenance files for all of the equipment, which we really should have for insurance purposes anyway. That's one of the things we didn't have before. That's been established now. So our hope is that the money will kind of offset. And the other nice piece about it is that the repairs themselves include establishing suitable living quarters for who's working. So then this trailer in the parking lot can depart. And we could sell it. We do own it.
Right.
So that would be another asset that we could, you know,
So we could just park it
dispose
down the
of
street
through
here where
bidding.
the other ones were on the old Peter property.
How would they sell the engine?
We plan to go through municipal. I sent something out to some of the area town managers and was kind of putting some feelers out, like what do you think would get us the most bang for our buck? You know, this appraiser said to us that they were willing to give us 60,000 cash, but obviously you can't just go with the one. We have procurement laws and everything we need to follow. So most of the area town managers said that municipal, they found like that's yielded them better results, that they feel like they've got a little bit more than they would in just a traditional auction style process. So that's our plan.
What about the other, I'm sorry, keep interrupting you. What about the other, there was a breaker, an older pickup truck style breaker that was like 40 years old and
Is that the diesel truck that's out there?
That's a deuce and a half, it
no,
probably
is
is.
it? I don't think
That
it's,
didn't cost us anything.
I don't think
That
it's
came
that
from
one.
the state.
I want to say it's like
Maybe
it's a
I'm-
Ford. It's a larger pickup truck, but it has a brush bar on the front of it, I believe.
I can
I know
find
Chief
out.
Forsari-
R3 does not.
Chief Borsari had indicated that he wanted to maintain it, even though it was not used very frequently. So, but I thought it had been identified as surplus.
I will find out. I'll double check on that. We recently surplused a small water pump, and there was another item too that we
Okay.
had recently surplus.
Small water pump? People use that to pump out their cellars.
No, I don't think it was that. There were two things I think that were kind of the same function. This was a water buffalo.
Oh, that.
That.
Yeah, that's a big tank.
So
Just put your
that's
drinking
been
water in it.
declared as surplus, so we're gonna move forward with disposition of that as well. So we're really trying to kind of streamline things over there and figure out, as far as the other vehicles, one of the ambulances, the EMS department was saying that at some point we may need to look at replacing that, but we hope that we can get like another 2 years out of it or so. I think it was more just for purposes of having up-to-date equipment. There's nothing wrong with the vehicle, so we're hopeful that we can get more usable life out of that as well.
A1.
But it was just important, I thought tonight, to just bring this group up to speed so that we're not coming to you a few months down the line and you have no idea what we're talking about, and, you know, better to just be out in front of it. So that's our grand plan for the fire department, at least for now. But a lot's happened just over the last few weeks, so I just wanted to touch base and make sure that you didn't have any questions for me, or that there weren't any concerns. Oh, and we did have another point that I'd just like to make briefly. I don't want to take over your meeting here. I know this wasn't initially planned, but we did have a structural engineer come out and look at the building, just to make sure that in the future, should the department grow or the needs of the town change, what would be the feasibility for adding on to that structure, either a bay on the side or perhaps going up. We don't have the report back yet, but I expect it within the next couple of weeks. So I'm a little hesitant, don't quote me on this, but the impression that we got is that it looks very favorable for being able to add on to what we have, which is good news. It means that we don't see ourselves needing to build a brand new fire station in the foreseeable future. So the building itself structurally.
It's amazing how that changes.
And we'll know more once we have the report. Like I said, I don't want to be quoted, I'm not a structural engineer, but based on his visit, they were able to climb up into all parts of the building, and they did pull out the original plans from '74 when it was constructed, and it seemed pretty favorable as far as options for the future.
Excellent. Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
As long as you're
Now,
sitting
can
here,
we-
let me just make sure we
Windows
understand
up.
everything that you've got
Sure.
here. Yeah, I think we're good. They're all self-explanatory.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
When you say not expand staff, you're talking a full-time staff, not
The
not call
full-time staff,
people.
the call people we're trying to recruit, so if you know of
I'm
anybody
too old,
who's
I can't go back.
interested. We also added back in at town meeting the basic call firefighter position with no expectation of EMT and so on. So if there's somebody who simply wants to be involved on the fire side only, they're more than welcome to apply. We're taking applications on a rolling basis and screening and getting those people appointed. So, thank you.
Thanks. Just to follow up on that a little bit, when we put together the budget for fire labor, it was based upon, I think, 4 full-timers. So the budget does reflect as if we were, now it's been that way for a couple of years now. They never staffed to that level because they couldn't get people, I guess, interested in the position. But that's sort of how they start their budget for salaries every year. Is they build it around 4 full-time positions. Now, as you just heard, they only have 2, so they're staffing it with per diem and whatnot. I guess my point is they shouldn't be running out of salary money. Is what I'm trying to say. Hopefully. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we have some reserve fund transfers. The first item is just 3 intra-departmental transfers that it's not taking out of the reserve fund. It's just bouncing money around from one subcategory to another subcategory. And there are 3 that the selectmen have already voted on and signed off on, and they just are looking for our approval as well. The first one is from the treasurer clerical position to the treasurer expense line in the amount of $1,000. The second is from police services to police vehicles in the amount of $8,000. So that would be from labor to vehicles. And then lastly, from police clerical, again to police vehicles for $2,000. So I'm a little confused about this one because police vehicles would have money in it already. So I don't know, did they buy 2 vehicles? I don't know what the explanation is for this one.
When you look at police vehicles, there's
The first year comes out of, it's
Police
appropriated at
fund.
town meeting, and then the rest of it goes to capital.
but they own or supposedly own the vehicles that the assessors run around.
Yeah, well, those are all, that wouldn't be this. This, given the amount of $10,000, it seems like it's a new purchase of some kind. So, anyway, those are the 3 amounts that were presented to us. I don't have a lot of explanation on the $10,000. I can find out and report back when we next get together, but given that they're trying to close out fiscal 18, we have to vote on it. So we need to do separate lines and do it all at once.
So we're okay to all 3.
So, not a lot of discussion, I guess, because we don't really know much, but, so I'll entertain a motion to approve these 3 intra-departmental transfers as presented.
Second. Or,
You
So
move?
moved.
approve. So moved.
Catherine seconds.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Alrighty. Oops.
Joseph's proposed, merged blank. Oh, so he's proposed, you know, second.
Did anybody down there have a pen? So if you could all just sign that, please, and then we'll need to, well, actually, if you want, we have a bunch to sign, you can pass them all around if you have. So the next several, we have roughly $31,000 in reserve fund transfers. We have a balance in the reserve fund of $42,000, so we're not in danger of, draining the fund. And again, this is all last year. We're closing out last year. So, first one is Board of Selectmen. Aren't you glad you signed on as secretary? You get to write all this crap
job. You
down.
know this. You know this. Yeah, Board of
At
Selectmen.
least you're legible, that beats me.
That's what you think.
Board of
Even
Select-
I can't read it.
Board of Selectmen, line 235. They are looking for an amount of $443.22. And that the explanation, additional hours needed for emergencies at the townhouse. So when we had all the storms and they had the pipe break and all that stuff, obviously there was more maintenance and such that needed to. So it caused the account to be drawn down quicker than expected. So by the end of the year, this is what they need basically to balance the books for the end of the year. So again, 443.22. Entertain a motion for that. Eric, Catherine seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Wonderful. Please sign on the. You can fill in.
Yes.
No, I'll fill that up. You can just sign it. Just sign any one of those lines down below. Thank you. Next is for the townhouse lines. It's the same set of circumstances. So this is more for the, I'm guessing, the materials to handle the emergency. They're looking for,
Do you have the line number?
I'm sorry, 255. The amount needed is $1,838.40, 1838.40. Again, to handle unanticipated expenses due to the storms and whatnot. Any discussion? Motion to approve.
Eric?
Eric,
Second.
Catherine seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? As well. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
Line 200, town accountant. She's looking for $1,237.04. She had to attend extra meetings. We worked her too hard preparing the budget, apparently. So, any discussion?
Should we
Motion.
do that for the flag?
Eric moves. Catherine seconds.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Line 515, fire equipment line. This is sort of what Liz was just referring to. This is repairs to the engine. The invoices from last September. Apparently, again, it must have been that they drained the account earlier than expected, so this is an overage. So they're looking for the amount of $2,493.62. This is in the fire equipment and repair line. $2,493.62. There is an invoice attached in the amount of $13,000. So clearly the original budget for the line is $16,000, and then this for all equipment on the ambulance and the fires. So moved. Eric moves, Catherine seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
How many do we get?
We've got like 8 of them.
Thank you.
One's a duplicate though. I'm saving that one for last. Next is fire departments. Line number 500, which is the fire chief salary line. As the administrator just mentioned, we've had expenses both for buying out the former chief. He had some vacation sick time accrued that he was entitled to, and then also we had expenses for the interim chief who's been helping us out. So they exceeded the $77,000 budget. Total amount expended was $96,000 and change. Again, a fair amount of that is due to the buyout of Chief Borsari. So the amount they're looking for is $19,310.18. 19310.18. Any discussion? Eric makes a motion, Catherine seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Library, line 623. Which is library support staff. $51.16.
So moved.
Somebody worked a couple extra hours.
After that $19,000 one.
It says $50.
I say no on
Pass the
this.
Aye?
Aye, all those in favor?
Aye.
Did Eric start that?
He did.
Yeah.
Same,
I second.
same routine.
Okay.
Once you start a routine, we don't change it.
Yeah,
She taught me
okay.
that. Actually, I tried to mess it up once until she gave me the look.
I tried to mess it up once, and his mother said, "No, we don't do that."
Yeah, right. Yeah. See,
Right.
See, you
That was
got to listen to the
It's always
veterans on the
whoever's
committee.
writing. Whoever's writing gets to choose the method.
That's right.
It's everyone doing the same thing. Then
Okay, so we have two from the zoning, and it looks to me like it's a duplicate because one is dated 6/18 and the other is dated 7/7.
Different amounts, though.
Different amounts, and it looks as though the first one is asking for $3,000. The second one is asking for $2,800. Now, the budget started at $8,000, and then it says line expenditure to date, and this is as of 2 days ago, $10,450. So that would be $2,450, which is sort of what they're looking for. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. If we approve the initial one of $3,000, that'll bring the total budget for the line to $11,000. They've got $10,450, so that would cover. Because this requested transfer amount is only $350. So I think if we approve the initial one, we can skip over the second one. Does that make sense?
Is there an itemized thing behind it?
This is it's zoning, so it must be what, permits, and no, they don't do permits.
No, but,
Meeting?
Zoning officer,
yeah, it could be.
We have a contractor for that?
it's under the other services.
Both of them are under other services?
This one doesn't have anything.
Oh, isn't. When does the budget, when does this business of ours finally close so that we can't make any more transfers? What's the date?
She knew we were meeting tonight. I emailed, she was trying to close,
knew?
she was closing stuff out.
Who is she?
I'm sorry, Barbara.
Barbara?
Barbara was closing stuff out. She wanted vendor warrants dated July 16th, which would be the last possible thing. Payroll was July 2.
Can we call her?
Sure. Do you know her number? I don't know if I have it.
Maybe. Let's see. This doesn't make sense. I mean,
Yeah,
you hate to not do it
If they
it
need
needs to
it.
be done.
But the math doesn't seem to, yeah, I don't have her one.
Nor do I.
Tricia might.
Home. I got it.
Okay.
Can we call her or do you want to call her?
Well, do you have speakerphone?
Hey Barbara, it's Marilyn Brown at the Finance Committee.
Yes. I'm on the finance committee.
She's thrilled.
Yeah, and they had the nerve to make me secretary.
She does such a wonderful job. I kept hearing that crap, so now she has to hear it.
Right.
Absolutely.
We have a question for you, Barb. You have two transfers from reserve funds for the zoning, and they seem to be kind of a duplication. So I didn't know if we needed to address both of them, or if we could just skip one and only address The $3,000 one?
If you want to add the two amounts together, you can do one. But what happened was I did the other one last week, and then he turned another payroll in for zoning yesterday for the 350.
But it looks like if we do the 3,000 you requested a couple of weeks ago, that will bring you up to 11,000, which is still more than
Okay.
what you're looking
I
for.
did do that one.
Okay.
I forgot that one was in there, to be honest.
Okay, all right, good. We just wanted to double check.
I saw the 350 yesterday and said, excuse my English, oh crap.
Hey, you're on camera.
Turn it all in and stuck another one in to cover it.
Okay, so if we vote the 3,000, that'll be more than enough. All right, perfect. That's just what we thought. Okay,
All right.
thank you. Sorry to bother you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay, if I need anything, I'll give you guys a call.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Okay, so what do
so
we
the
have
first
here?
one, the first one is zoning line 420.
And that's the 3,000.
That's for $3,000, and that will cover expenses. Just so you know, we apparently anticipated this trend going into next year because we voted them $12,000 going forward. So obviously,
And the line is expenses,
it's zoning administrator,
zoning administrator.
line 420. So we'll vote for the first one, the $3,000, and then we'll go through the motions of voting down the second one because we do have an application.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Oh, sorry. No, I didn't mean that. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Sign, please. So then the next one will be, again, line 420. The dollar amount is only $350. We won't need to vote it, but we should, just to be official, vote it down. So, so we're moving to pass over this. Moved and seconded. Catherine, all those in favor of passing over? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Wonderful. Thank you. So this one goes no.
Pass over. Well, I say that. Just left us alone.
So that's all the reserve fund transfers. So assuming that that's all the money we need to spend, we will have a couple of bucks left over. So we spent the reserve fund with $10,000 left over, 10,600 left over.
How much left?
10,626 is our remaining balance. Okay, so the only remaining piece of business that we have a note from Roxanne, the Director of Veteran Services. She just wants to give us an update on her budget. And at the end of, well, this is as of about a month ago, she has a balance of $16,281 that she expects to be returning to the town. So she's used all her expenses, paid all her expenses for the year. She thought there might be a small bill here or there, but roughly $16,000 she will be returning to the town. And again, we reflected that, I believe, going forward. We made her veterans budget quite a bit less this year based on her, yeah, we shaved $10,000 based on her recommendation for fiscal 19. So that's it. Thank you all for coming in again for another year. Thank you very much, seriously. You'll regret it. But thank you. I look forward to having your guidance. I will far as I know, we won't have to meet again until September-ish, and then we'll start up again probably, once a month, give or take. We do need to start out by taking a look at the capital plan, because we didn't really do much with it last year, because we didn't really have a lot of requests, but we do need to sort of take a look at that and provide that for the town. I don't anticipate we have a lot of stuff going on there either, but we did put quite a bit of time and effort into it 2 years ago, so we don't want to let that go by the wayside. So we'll probably start out sometime around the second week in September or so, and then I'll send around an email to you to see what availability looks like, and then we'll settle a calendar and stuff for that.
Is the new police station a capital type expenditure?
Going forward, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the plan for this year to still have the town administrator sort of collect all of the budget sheets and then present them to us rather than us meet with all the departments?
Yeah, she
I was wondering what she was going to do.
She recommended that last year, so I think probably one, and maybe we'll see if she's available on that first meeting in September. She had proposed that rather than FinCom meet with every single department, especially all the small ones that don't really change much, that maybe she could do a lot of those, and that we would just reserve ourselves for the kind of the big ticket items.
Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering, yeah.
So, and
Police,
she
fire schools?
she wanted to take over some of the request process as well. So I'll probably work with her over the course of the summer and give her what we have, and I don't know what she's thinking. I think she ideally, she and I had a conversation. We'd ideally like to get in some sort of an electronic request form. We'll see how whether that comes. It may take another year or so to pull that off, but we'll see how that works out. But yes, I think, yeah, absolutely. She wants to be more involved.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever she wants to do is fine by all of us. Speaking on behalf of the
PDF
committee.
or form fill would do that.
Well, I tried that last year actually for the when I sent around the requests. I did send around the blank form as a form fill, and nobody seemed to figure out what I was doing, so because they all just printed it out and hand wrote it and sent it back. So.
They're old school.
Yeah. So at least we got them back. So if there's no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 6:42. Thank you very much, and I'll enjoy the rest of your summer. I'll be in touch.